Hi there, everybody. It's Buddy with Midland, Texas. I'm going to do a video today. I'm going to do my best to keep it short. There's a lot of information I want to go over. I want to name it CSI Midland Crime Scene Investigation, and go over the evidence that was submitted by the police and the CSI. And I've done that parts, bits and pieces of it, and told different stories. But here I want to go into kind of overview of all the evidence that was submitted, when it was submitted, and who submitted it, and then focus on the several things that are that I think are interesting. They might show tampering with evidence, or omission, or some kind of falsification, which would be a crime, of course, with obstruction of justice, etc. Because that, I mean, obviously we've got a cover up going on, and because I wasn't shot with my gun, and I mean somebody come to my home and shot me, and 2 weeks after I reported a suspected tunnel to DEA who didn't look. Now multiple people are saying that that tunnel's underground facilities here, and so I'm gonna go through here and list this out. The police reports, I'm not going to go over on this one. Basically, there's two sets of police reports. There's incident reports, like when somebody calls the 911 and says, I need to report, this emergency or whatever. And so they get an incident report that's by the dispatcher, time-stamped, all that. And then also there's a secondary report. In this instance, it's called a investigation report. That was started by MPD Sergeant Matt Davis, one of the secret police and one of the top suspects. He quit right after the protection order hearing in 2013, after just 12 years with the police department. Mysteriously quit the police force, and I got a feeling that's because of his involvement in the murder attempt on my life, or cover up. And so them police reports are real important. They got a lot of information, especially the information report. And so now we're on the evidence side here, and I've got this laid out how I want to show you, and starting with evidence log page 1, okay. And this here was entered by evidence by April Chandler and Matt Davis on 1/29/12, and just a few hours after I'm shot. It was 4 items, okay, and the 4 items were a .22 pistol, okay, you can see that, a .22 rifle, and keys, okay, and then a hole, okay, and that hole is a magazine, whatever, for the gun, okay. And so this is right after, this is the information report number right there. This is on the original page. It was started by Matt Davis. And what I want to do here, if I can find it real quick, I think it's real important. Let me go to the nurse's notes. I'm just get shot. I get to the hospital, and the ER nurse, Cresswell, Kiara Cresswell, she's documenting, timestamp what I'm saying, okay? And this is super important, okay? Because this is right after I'm shot. And patient stated, my neighbors are breaking in my house. There are sirens going off. I have towel wire around my cabinets. In closet, there's a voice recorder recording what was happening. I have cameras. My neighbors have built a tunnel from their house to mine. They're stealing my stuff. The alarms keep going off. I was towel wiring my doors to keep them out, and I set the gun on the ceramic tile. Okay. 12:03. The next door neighbors hide in my house when I'm there, and they live there when I'm gone. I can show you where they're breaking in and going through the sheetrock and the tunnels. I saw it on the internet. I hear them down there. I was talking on a white voice recorder in case something happens to me, and saying what they were doing in my house. I have proof. Just go look. There's proof. Okay. And that was the voice recorder. The voice recorder recorded the burglar alarms going off over and over and over. Burglar alarms in my attic. I'd made my first call, reported something in the attic a year earlier. Now I've documented homeowners all over Midland, Texas, Midland, Odessa, Texas, and in multiple other states reporting people in the attic. And then also at 12:03, Detective Rodriguez has patient's necklace, is going to give it to her brother. That's going to come back here in one of the evidence logs, and so I make a point of that. And she takes the badge number of Detective Rodriguez. I suspect Kiara Cresswell knew something very fishy was going on, and it was something very fishy was going on. And And then here, this is the narrative from Rosa Rodriguez. Okay. And so you hear what I'm saying. Burglar alarms are going off, and I'm under a home invasion. They're breaking into my house. And Rodriguez says, but he said he's going to lock up his door for the night and he's going to bed and his gun fell over and it accidentally shot him. And he said his phone wasn't charged. That was another lie. I did not say my phone wasn't charged. Actually, my cell phone had got stolen and my home phone was dead when I fell to the ground. That's what happened. And I was carrying my home phone and my cordless in my pocket, which I would never do except my cell phone was stolen, And then when I get back in the hospital, my cell phone's planted behind my nightstand. My home phone's back working, and I got a picture of Rosa Rodriguez leaned over the nightstand. I believe she planted it, And so, but anyways, you can tell the difference in the two narratives, okay, from what Nurse said I said and what Rodriguez said I said, okay. The other thing I want to go over here, okay, this is one of the secret police pictures. April Chandler, she was identified in 2018 as being one of the secret police in my house. This is Rosie Rodriguez with the camera, and based on other pictures, I can identify her. This is timestamp 129. Like I said, the actions for them police were on the 128 report. Okay, this is from the nurse's notes. I was talking on a white voice recorder. That's what this whole Mimi's about, okay? And this is from Chandler's narrative, okay? This is important, and this is the whole reason I'm telling you about this. Buddy had a .22 rifle in the bedroom by the bed that was taken for safekeeping and locked into MPD evidence, as well as a single shot revolver and the voice recorder from the closet. Okay. Now remember, here's a copy of the what we just looked at, the evidence log from 12912, and there's the .22 rifle, .22 pistol, rings, hole, no voice recorder. That was the point I was making. The voice recorder was stolen. I can't tell you how many videos I made, how many of these memes I grew up, how many times I posted on Facebook that the voice recorder was stolen. And it was very important because what the voice recorder do? It proved I was shot during a home invasion because burglar alarms were going off before I shot. Okay, that's how important the voice recorder was. So the 22s were checked, that Chandler found were checked in, but the voice recorder was missing, okay? And so here, I want to show you something here. This is this year, May 3rd, 2019, and I was actually being smart mouth, whatever, on this. I want to see the evidence log showing that the voice recorder, was checked into evidence, because I knew it wasn't, because I already had the evidence log showing it wasn't checked into evidence. Okay. And also on this was City Attorney Gates. This is last year, less than a year ago. I also wanted warrant information for Eric Perez. That's another story. He was wanted for capital attempted murder about a year later, and I wondered if it was connected to here. And then a list of all 911 calls for people reporting somebody in the attic, and they come back and told me there was none, zero. And I have it where I have the police report where I called and reported somebody in the attic, and I have a half dozen other calls from other homeowners off my police scanner reporting people in the attic. And the city of Midland says that nobody's ever called and reported somebody in the attic, I'm telling you, that's just not true. That's all there is to it, And then the evidence logs, as I show you. But I want to show you that was just last year when I got that, okay? And so then they sent me a revised evidence log. And somebody come in there and they scribbled out whole, okay, like it doesn't exist anymore. And they hand wrote in 12-gauge shotgun shells and voice recorder. Okay, the two items that I said were missing on the police report, and I hadn't showed you on the missing shotgun shells yet, and that's on another police report, but then you can see it, and I want to show you here. Item number 4, shotgun shells. So they scribbled out whole and put shotgun shells there, okay, as in that doesn't exist anymore, that magazine, okay, and then just hand wrote it in because I made a point out of it 7 years later, no less, because I'll tell you what, I've got the evidence logs from 2013 and that wasn't like that. And then once again here, that's the keys, we ain't worried about that, but the voice recorder added on here, item number 5, okay, the missing voice recorder. Now remember, my attorney subpoenaed the records, the information report in December 2013 for the protective order hearing, and that wasn't there. And that was a year and a half after the murder attempt. And I made a big point of that voice recorder being stolen, and that covered and that that recorder proved that I was shot during a home invasion. Burglar alarms were going off in my attic. Okay. And so I just wanted to show you that tampering with evidence, okay? Also went to my YouTube channel. I did a search for burglary, and you can do this yourself, and you're going to find just video after video after video of burglar alarms going off while I'm in the house. Sometimes people are here with me. There's times where I'm in the bathtub, the burglar alarms go off in the attic. I bet I made 100 of these videos. I finally took the burglar alarms off, or they'd still be going on, okay? The crimes here have never stopped. I'm still hearing people in my attic, and because they are in my attic, I saw a person in my attic, I shot with burglar alarms going off my attic, and I just want to show you that, okay? But burglar alarms were going off in my attic, okay? And so there's the revised. We did that one. We did that one. Okay. This is the incident report, and I just threw that in there. This is and it's so much information we won't go over it. But this is one that was withheld from me for 7 years, and I just got last year. It's for the night of the shooting of the murder attempt, where everybody was by the minute. And from this, then, I parsed it out here, and what I figured out was that Dickie, Davis, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale were at or in my house, but they wasn't seen arriving on the cameras. Because remember, Naylor and Woodward were seen arriving on cameras, and their names are not even on the police report. And the first guy to show up is the Martin County Sheriff, not even from the area. He's now a convicted felon. Maybe he was the shooter in the underground facility when I shot. I don't know that. Any of them could have been, right? I think actually the reason that the reason they wasn't seen arriving at my home is because they come in from the tunnel under it. You remember Ricky Ronaldo said, I used to live in your house. I used to go into tunnels under it. That's where they were. And there's, it looks like an underground facility in the backyard. It looks like a big party was going on. So moving on, evidence log number 2. Okay. This really, nothing real big that I'm going to talk to for this. There's photos. There's my 9mm. I had that on my side at the time. Remember, I was extremely concerned. My cell phone had been stolen, and burglar alarms going off in the attic. And on December 20th, about 5 weeks earlier, the police had been here, told me that they better not be called to here again for this stuff. And, that was another story. Okay. And this one here, the reason, this is the next page of it. And the one I want to make a point of is here. 4 live Remington 12-gauge shotgun shells from gun. I also want to point out that this was checked into evidence on the 6th, February 6th, by Marty Barrett, the crime scene investigator of the CSI. Okay, and what I want to point out, Marty Barrett conveniently left off the size of the pellets. Okay, and so he's either the dumbest CSI in the world or he's dirty. Okay, because that's a very important fact. But the other part of this is that I had noticed there was no empty shotgun shell. And that's what I made a big point of, created videos, made Facebook posts, said there, if I was shot with my gun, there would be an empty shotgun shell. And where that shell would be inside the gun, okay, inside the Remington a 12-gauge shotgun. The spent shell would be inside that gun. It was a pump shotgun. But I wasn't shot with my gun, okay? That's a fact. Somebody under that cabinet shot me, okay? And so that's where this one's a blown up, it just shows you 4 live Remington 12-gauge shotguns. No empty shells are found, okay? 8 days later, Barrett's checking in the evidence, okay? And he checked in most of the evidence here. I can't remember, it's 38 different pieces of evidence, okay? And I have these side ones here. This gets into what I was shot with, but, okay. From the surgeon, okay, it's really important. The surgeon says during surgery there was a large amount of plastic and lead pellet debris. The question's asked, where did the plastic come from? Okay, because a standard shotgun shell, if I'm shot, you only got the wadding and that's it, and so then there's the question on the plastic, and then more than that, the ER doctor said that he removed the plastic wad from the emergency room. Okay, it stated that. Okay, so, and that was stated by the surgeon right there. So we knew the plastic didn't come from the wad. Okay, and then here from the ER doctor, my brother-in-law that I didn't know about, right? And he says I exhibit a through and through gunshot wound, okay? And the plastic whiting from the shotgun shells extruding from the skin, it was removed. So the ER doctor removed the whiting, or so he said, okay? And the brother-in-law that I didn't know about, okay? Detective Rodriguez, she just makes up her own stuff, you know what I mean? Specialist Barrett responded, but he did not have a right heel. Well, remember, you know, he says, I got a through and through gunshot wound. And that's the same thing I said. When I got to the hospital, I had two holes in my foot. One that's on the front right side and one in the back. And but here, Rodriguez saying he didn't have a heel. And I think she knew they were going to fake them x-rays. They were going to take the x-rays of another guy that was missing his heel bone, put my name on him. And that's why Rodriguez made up this lie right here. Remember, triple proof that my x-rays are fake. That's in other videos. The proof's in other videos. Okay. Very important. Now we're getting into the evidence side of it, right? Okay. From the lab, we know that the size of pellets removed come in here to 0.3 centimeters. Okay. We convert that over and it comes in here to around move your decimal point, about a size 5 shot. Okay. Well, my shotgun had a 7.5. One shell, this is real important. I found one shell. Where I found this shell was stuck between hanging and closed. When I got back from the hospital, I found that all my ammunition was gone. And I thought, why did they take my ammunition, right? Because, you know, somebody had shot me. Why would they take my ammunition? But I found one shell that had accidentally rolled off at some time off my top shelf and was stuck between hanging clothes. And that left me a shell. But the answer is, why did they take my spare shotgun shells? And the answer is, it showed the size of pellets, 7.5. Okay. Now remember, Barrett conveniently left off the size of pellets. Okay. And the size of pellets are 2.5 sizes different than what was removed from my foot. Okay. But they are the same size as a Glazer safety slug, or relatively. Okay. And that's a size 6. Okay. And we also know the entrance and exit wound. That tells us that the gun was level with the ground right here. Okay. I was shot on the front right here. Boom. 2 inches above ground. The person that shot me was below ground, probably on a ladder, and they're at ground level waiting for me to walk by. Boom. They shot me and it come out the back. Okay, so we know the position of the gun, the direction of the gun. Well, that room is tiny. I wasn't shot with a 4-foot long shotgun in that tiny room. Okay, and so I wanted to go over that evidence. Okay, and then Lisa Rogers tells me, you're not disabled with a 45, okay? That's a very important clue. She told me, she didn't say a 22. She didn't say you ain't disabled being shot with a 38, right? She said a 45. She knew the size of handgun I was shot with. Well, you know what? Glazer safety slug makes a Glazer safety slug for a 45, and that's a plastic tip pellet-filled bullet. And you know what that would do is that would explain why the doctor said he removed that plastic from the wound. What it doesn't explain, though, and we're going to get back to that, is why this wadding, right? Because if I'm shot with a Glazer safety slug, how can there be a plastic wad if I ain't shot with a shotgun? We know I'm not shot with my shotgun, okay? We've already proven that. Okay, I think I covered that. If you got questions, then I'll answer them. But this is next page, and this is things out of my wallet. The one thing that's interesting, gold colored necklace, and on the nurse's report, she said that this was going to be given to my brother by Rodriguez. That was a real odd comment. After I got the police reports, I called Danny up, my brother, and I said, where's my necklace? He didn't know what I was talking about. And, and I had read in the report that Kiara Cresswell had said that Rodriguez had my gold necklace and she was going to give it to his brother, like Rosa Rodriguez knows my brother. And that's where I wondered that, and but my brother doesn't talk to me anymore, but he says he don't know anything. And so I don't know what else to do about that. Okay. We went over that. There's proof. I know the reason I put that in there is because at the bottom here, patient has necklace, stated she's going to give it to his brother. That's why I put that there. Okay. And so let's go to the next page. Okay, this one gets very interesting. Okay, these are cards from my wallet. This one's real important. I'm gonna zoom up on the number, the Visa number, and so you can print screen it, whatever. That's my debit card. Okay, and why that's important is because that went missing from my wallet the week before I shot, and I went to the last place I used it. I looked everywhere. I checked everywhere 2-3 times because that's what I use is my debit card. I don't use a check and I don't use cash. I use my debit card, and it put me in a bind because my debit card is gone. Okay, and so I finally called the bank and I reported it stolen the week before I'm shot. Okay, keep that in mind. At the same time, I'm having all this harassment going on, breaking into my house. They're tampering with my vehicles, it's just an unbelievable amount of stalking and harassment that's going on. And obviously, they're the ones that took this debit card, okay, out of my wallet. Well, when after I get out of the hospital, a guy from work, Bobby Douglas, my peer at work, he comes by and gets me. We go out to eat, and I'm going to pay for lunch, and I got to pay for it. And they go, oh, this card's canceled. And that's when I remembered that card is canceled. And then I'm like, how'd that get into my wallet? And it got in my wallet because the police somehow put it in there. So the police were involved in stealing my debit card before it's stolen. And I'm sure it wasn't to use my debit card. They were involved in the harassment and the stalking. And I think it's to drive me from my house. That's what it seems like. They're trying to terrorize me from my home. That was going on and is still going on. But I want to make a point of that is all we have to do is call the bank and go, and yeah, that debit card was reported stolen. And yeah, it was. Then how come Rosa Rodriguez and Barrett all of a sudden get my wallet and it magically reappears? And I tell you the reason is because they had it. And so that's a very, very big clue right there. And there's evidence to back it up because we just get a hold of the bank. Okay. The next one is just a bunch of other cards. Okay. There ain't nothing there I really talk about from my deal. And then we'll have this one, and this is all Barrett. Check this in, and this is a real important one. This is the shotgun. Barrett checked it in, the Winchester 12 gauge 3/4 pump shotgun. Okay, and he kept this all in evidence. Of course, all the evidence he checked in was on February 6th, 8 days later. So he evidently had my gun for 8 days or whatever. I used to make a point of that, and here, I want to show you. This comes in on the 14th. This is his narrative. Here's what Barrett says. The CSI. And remember, if we find out Barrett's been tampering with evidence, omitting evidence, we got to go back and look at every piece of evidence that he had. That could let convicted murderers out of jail. Literally, if we find out, and I believe that's what we're going to find out. He was a secret police. He was secret for 6 years. I had to pay to get him identified. Okay, and so. Here's his narrative. On 1/29/12 at 12:10, I was dispatched to the hospital. Photograph injuries, Buddy Webb. I photographed with a digital camera. That was the photos. Collected his clothing, shotgun wad. There it is again. How can I have a shotgun wad if I ain't shot with a shotgun? That's a very good question, right? Well, we know I ain't shot with my shotgun, and so then, and if I was shot with another shotgun, where did all the plastic come from, right? And so we still have some open questions. I received evidence from Chandler that included a pistol and a wallet. And the thing is that pistol and wallet come from Rodriguez because Rodriguez is the one that met me at the 7-Eleven and not Chandler. And them two made up lies. And Chandler said she climbed in my truck at the 7-Eleven, which was a lie. And Rodriguez wasn't there. But I know the difference. One's a brunette and she's a Hispanic. Another's a blonde, Rodriguez climbed in my truck at the 7-Eleven right after I was shot. But that was the reason that is there because they're all working together, okay? And try to make up the lies. They're covering up this premeditated capital attempted murder, okay? Photographed. I collected evidence from the scene that included a shotgun, okay? That's very important because the next thing, there's a photo disc, he says, but the next thing I'm going to show you is what I call the tripwire lie. In court, Rosa Rodriguez, under sworn testimony, perjured herself, and she said there was a tripwire tied to my shotgun. Okay, now let's keep in mind, triple proof shows I wasn't shot with my shotgun. There wasn't no tripwire when I was at my home, and under testimony, there is no, and you've seen it, there is no tripwire in evidence. There is no pictures of tripwire, and none of the other 11 secret police say anything about a tripwire, including CSI Marty Barrett that picked up my shotgun, and he don't say anything about a tripwire. Tripwire was a lie to cover up a premeditated murder, and that's aggravated felony perjury from Rosa Rodriguez in that protective order hearing. Okay, I want to make that real clear, because I don't know how many people have tried to spread this lie and to cover up this capital attempted murder. Okay, and then we're moving on. That was all February 6th. Okay, the next piece of evidence gets checked in on June 25th. 5 months later, okay? And there's 4 pieces of evidence checked in by Rosie Rodriguez, okay? She's the detective, met me at the 7-Eleven, come to find out, and during the protective order hearing, she was lifelong friends with the ex-wife. They went to elementary school together, okay? And, of course, as I said earlier, the ex-wife's alleged to be involved in the shooting, okay? Here's the 4 things she submits: CD photos, victim statement, consent to search warrant, and 2 drawings that I gave at the hospital. I told that story in a recent video. They showed up at the hospital on the morning of February 1st, okay? And that's when I made the video, February 1st. And asked me to sign a consent to search form, pretending they were going to go to my home and start the investigation. I didn't know that they'd already been in my home, and they didn't know they'd been caught on camera. The only person, they tried to disable the camera, but they didn't know it. So I had pictures of both entries, the first entry, the second entry. One was 1/29/12, the second one's February 1st. The only person that's in both sets of pictures is Rosa Rodriguez, okay? And so the question has been asked, if the bomb squad was with her that day, if they were the patsy, or if they're witnesses to this cover-up of this premeditated capital attempted murder. This is the consent to search form that I signed under false pretenses at the hospital on February 1st, where they're going to go to my home. Now, keep in mind that I'm excited, and I'm thinking that, I'm not suspecting corrupt police. I'm not. I'm a lifelong supporter of law enforcement. I was a 28-year company man, moved to Midland with hope and excitement, spent my life savings at home, volunteered to lead the United Way drive. These people looked at me and thought, oh, let's kill him, take his stuff, And so here's the date, February 1st, 2012, Rosa Rodriguez, okay? She didn't submit this for evidence for 5 months. So, and I have a feeling she would have never done that, except they got caught on camera. And that's why she had to do it, okay? On the same exact day that she submitted that evidence, Rosa Rodriguez closed the case herself, personally. But before she did that, she contacted the hospital and tried to have me committed. I ain't kidding you. This other part over here, she's talking about the neighbor's son, something about slashing tires. And this was more lies, about the next door neighbors. And I don't know whether it sounds like that I think Rosa might know that next door neighbor, and they were worked together and created this lie, because I never slashed a tire in my life. And more than that these cars were parked in front of my house where cameras were watching them. I didn't even find this out till 2 years later, until I got the information report because of the protective order hearing. Okay, and so I think that's all I got there, covering this part of the evidence. The last thing here, and I don't know if I showed you that. I think I did. Epic drug scandal results in 20,000 convictions dropped. The question's asked, could that happen here in Midland if the CSI Marty Barrett is omitting evidence to cover up a premeditated capital attempted murder, or if he's falsifying records, or these other police are falsifying, which they obviously are, right? And not to mention the reports being withheld, etc. I mean, this could turn over previous convictions for murder convictions, because even if they didn't falsify evidence on that murder conviction, you got to go back and look at it, because they're dirty cops, and that's what's happened. And this is what's going on in Midland. This is all to cover up the underground facilities and the oil show parties, and the murder of the last homeowner, and the murder of the little girl at the 2010 oil show party, and then the maiming, mutilation, faked X-rays, and then the crimes don't stop. All the other homes that people reporting people in the attic, tens of thousands of burglaries and thefts, and the crimes never end. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.